of you who have newly joined, Bajaj Finance is a report that we sourced through one of my contacts, and we spent about 50 euros in terms of crowdsourcing to get that report. He will be sharing reports on few other companies. We started following Bajaj Finance since 2000 rupees. I would say a little less than that, but 2000 is what I remember. Currently it's trading at 2400, and we have had two people go through the report, means based on their understanding. I think Ranjit and Akash have completed. I don't remember if anyone else has also given the presentation. So now today Nimit and Kunal will be giving their views on Bajaj Finance and what are their recommendations. So this is part of the agenda today. So before I start off with swaps, happy to take any questions based on the discussion that we had over the last week. I know a lot of topics were discussed, but if there are any questions or any terminologies that people are not comfortable with, please go ahead and ask. There was one terminology that Amol asked me, which is ROCE. ROCE or ROE is used intangibly or interchangeably. It is basically return on equity, which basically means that if you invest 100 rupees in a business, how much profit you make in a year. It is also used interchangeably with ROI, which is return on investment. So ROE, ROCE, and ROI are kind of the same thing. Generally, sometimes for ROCE, companies use equity plus debt. So as a company, you can have 100 rupees as equity and 100 rupees as debt. And if your total profit is 20, your ROCE will be 10% because 20 out of 200, but ROE will be 20% because 20 out of 100, because your equity is only 100, the rest 100 is debt. So sometimes people use ROCE and ROE in that way. Any questions?
Thank you, Nishant. I understand the concept. I think that ROC is very important factor when we choose any new stock for investment purpose. So we need to check ROC also year on year, right?
Yes, exactly, right. So, but for you, more than ROC, what is important is ROI, because at what price are you buying the share? So if the company is launching today, then ROC is important. ROC is still important because it tells you how efficiently the company is using its capital. But yeah, so ROC is definitely very important, yes. But it also remember that more than ROC, there is also something called free cash, which is the most important, which is basically your ROCE minus WACC. WACC is your, one second. Sorry guys, my daughter.
No issue. Don't angry on her.
So WACC is the average cost of capital. So basically, say for example, I invested 100 rupees and got 20 rupees as profit, but I would have brought that 100 rupees from somewhere. So say I got that 100 rupees as a loan from Vivek, for example, and I'm paying him 5%. So the difference between 5 and 20, 15, that is the key metric. How much difference are you making? So I am able to borrow at 5 and make 20, whereas Vaibhav is borrowing at 2 and he's making 18. So he's doing better than me, because his actual return is 18 minus 2 is 16. Did it make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. Nishant, just maybe a side question. So if we have to analyze a particular stock based on the ROCE and P2E ratio, how do we see both of these in conjunction, and what do we infer from these two mutually exclusively and when they're put together?
Okay, see, let me pull one example. So basically, say a company which has a very high ROCE, which means that company is profitable, but P ratio is more about expected profits or expected growth in profits rather. Okay, whereas ROCE is more like how much actually am I generating on a real-time basis. Let me try and pull ITC, because this is one company I have been seeing very.
So if P ratio is more, then it is advisable to buy, or what?
No, P, again, see, nothing can be looked at alone, right? So you need to look at a lot of factors. Okay, so here let us look. So ROE is 22%, which means, and this is not ROC, it is ROE. Let me see ROC kitna hai.
उधर ही है ROC 34.6.
ROC is 35. Okay, so ROC is much higher than ROE. So I need to open the balance sheet also if I want the full thing. But yeah, so Vivek, to answer your question, see the ROE, there is a standard. So for ROE, basically for equity capital, there is no cost, right? As a company, I can choose to not pay any dividends. So for 2019, I can choose to pay 0 dividend, and shareholders cannot demand it. Equity shareholders have no right to demand dividend from the company. They can request it, but not demand it. So whatever profits I get is basically the cost of capital for equity is 0. Obviously, when a share is listed, the equity shareholder, if the company is doing well, automatically they will gain by appreciation of their share price. But from the company's perspective, the cost of an equity fund is 0. Is this clear to everyone?
Nishant, when you mean the cost of equity fund itself being 0, you mean the effort that the company has to pull in to source the money through the market, or I do not understand it clearly.
Yeah, so no, not the effort to source the money, right? But the company is not obligated to pay anything on it. So for example, I start a company and I take 100 crore rupees as equity capital. So I issue shares, 100 crore I have taken from the market. Say by issuing 100 crore shares, each at 1 rupee each.
Okay.
Somebody bought 1 lakh, whatever number of shares people bought, somebody bought it. So whole 100 crore I got it. When I got this 100 crore from different people, I am not obligated to give you anything. So there is no guarantee that after 1 year I'll give you 2 crore as dividend.
Got it.
Or 3 crore as dividend. So as a company, there is no liability on me.
Okay.
I can choose to pay dividend. I can choose not to pay dividend. But there is no fixed cost to it. So that is why the cost of equity is always 0. So when you do that, then you have a notional cost. You apply a notional cost that, okay, maybe 7% or 8%, you just apply as a notional cost, but there is no real cost.
Right.
I have a quick question, Nishant. What about the charges that the company has to bear for listing in the market? Say they hire an investment banker, then he does all the research for them, and then they list it, right? So what about those charges? How does that go about?
Yeah, who's this? Siddhartha or Vaibhav?
Yeah, Siddhartha.
Yeah, so what they pay, say to raise 100 crores, they pay 2 crores. That is a one-time charge. So that they can amortize over many years, or they can amortize it as a fixed cost. That's not a variable cost, right? I will not be raising money every year. I raise it one time.
Okay, so for example, a company is doing an IPO this year, then they would, then the ROE would differ because it's for this year, or how? I mean, if it's a relatively new company that's getting listed.
ROE is different, right? ROE, what I spoke to Vivek just now, what I explained is the cost of that equity capital, which is still 0, right? So if I did an IPO and I raised 100 crores, I spent 2 crore to it. So I will actually in my book show that I raised 100, but 2 crore was spent to raise it. So actual raised money is 98 crore. So generally what companies do is if they need 100 crore, they will raise 105. So 5 crore will be all the expenses. So net they get is 100. But here what we are discussing is there is no cost for that capital, right? It's free capital.
Yeah. Correct,
obviously,
correct.
if the shareholders don't make money, they will not give me any more money. So my FPO will fail. But एक बार तो पैसा आ गया ना.
Right. Got it. Thank you.
One basic question, Nishant.
Yeah, sure.
If company launch IPO, okay, like SBI Cards and Payments, okay, they launch the IPO at 750 price, okay, and after launch that IPO gets fail, they generate suppose 1,000 crore rupees, okay, and then after launching that the share price of that came down from 750 to 650, so it is a loss of that SBI Cards and Payment, so their value will automatically decrease?
No, right? So say, let's make it a little more simple. At 750 rupees, SBI card issued 1 crore shares.
No,
Okay.
for once they launched the IPO, they got 1,000 crore. Okay, and
नहीं,
after that,
750 ले ले. Easy
Hmm?
calculation के लिए 750 ले ले.
750. They got 750, 750 something. At initial, okay. Initially they got 750.
No, this
and
is the question. I'm trying to explain the answer now.
Okay.
So basically, that's what I'm saying. So at 750 they launched an IPO. Say 1 crore shares they issued. So total 750 crores they raised from the market. How they will sell that 1 crore shares? If there is demand in the market, only then they will sell. So they will hire an investment banker who will do marketing, who will prepare all the PPT saying these are the profit. Last 1 साल इतना कमाया, 2 साल इतना कमाया. Parent company is SBI, so good brand. Cards business is growing. ये है, वो है, फलाना, ढिमकाना. They will create one story, right? That is what investment bankers are paid for. So they will sell a story. If people buy it, they buy it. So once that 1 crore share, so who's selling the share? SBI card is selling the share. Who's buying? Public, right? Public, mutual fund, whoever. जनता का ही पैसा होता है हमेशा घुमा फिरा के. So the investors are buying. Once the 1 crore share are sold and SBI has collected that 750 crores, after that, whatever happened to share price, SBI doesn't care. So many times I explained last time also. SBI doesn't care. So if the share price comes down, obviously the management of SBI cards will obviously want to increase the share price. But for them, even if the share price comes up or down, they won't lose. Whoever has the shares will lose. So if I bought at 750 and it came down, I am the one who's losing, not the company.
Oh.
But obviously next time, if the IPO is not doing good, next time people have short memories. But logically, next time if SBI card want to do an next offer, which is called a FPO, follow on public offer, they may not be able to raise equivalent amount of money. But that doesn't usually happen, right? Because if I have done an IPO in 2020, I may not go back to the market for 10 years. Like if you look at a Reliance, last time they did an issue was in 1991. अभी 2020 में किया, 29 साल के बाद. बीच में जरूरत ही नहीं पड़ा मार्केट से पैसा लेने का, बैंक से उठाते रहे डेट में.
So they are taking money from market, means company is not doing good.
नहीं, ऐसा जरूरी नहीं है, right? One second. Somebody is playing a piano in the background. Can you please go on mute? No, if the company is raising money from the market, that doesn't mean it is not doing good, right? If the company is raising money from the market, if it is not doing good, nobody will give them money. So only if a company is doing well, they can get money from the market. So today, if I launch an IPO, how many people will give me 100 crores? So it's based on your brand value only that you get. Like for example, SBI card, people are giving money because in India, out of 100, maybe 2 people have credit cards. I don't have the data, but we can pull it up or somebody can pull it up. So the number of credit card is very less. So the market is huge. So there is a huge amount of expansion that is possible. So people believe that over the next 10, 15 years, SBI cards will do well. And being parent company being SBI, I don't know, so somebody can check. 70% of SBI or 50% of SBI. So people are confident that they have management, stable background. So they are okay to buy. Questions, doubts?
Nishant, sometime your voice is breaking, so I didn't heard your last sentence.
I said any question or doubt?
No, previous to that.
So I don't know, till where you heard?
That SBI cards payment you were saying.
Somebody is playing piano, I think Amol, on your background only.
Yeah, my son is playing, he is not stopping. So I'm going on mute.
Yeah, so basically what I was saying is for SBI cards, once, I don't know which, so people invested in the IPO because they believe that SBI card is expanding business. That is what I meant.
What are we inferring from the data sheet that you just pulled out for ITC again? What was the original question? I forgot.
Sorry, I joined back. I think there was some issue.
Nishant,
Original screenshot that you showed of ITC, what were you trying to infer from that? I forgot the original context.
That was
ROC.
ROC,
I think the original
ROC
question was
and
about.
ROE.
I mean, how do we correlate P2E and ROCE or ROE, and what do we infer from the the company's fundamental strength as an investor?
Yeah,
That was my question.
Yeah, so ROE is clear, right? Yeah, Vivek. So ROE and PE ratio have no correlation as such. So I think you said EP2 or something, right? You are talking about this, right? The stock PE ratio.
Yeah.
Price to earning.
Because the stock PE ratio already gives some indication on if the stock is being undervalued or if there is more expectation from the stock itself. And I was thinking if we correlate it with the ROCE, we might get a better understanding. Because from what I understand about ROCE, now it is return on capital equity. So if you have a very high percentage of ROCE, then your natural expectation of the P2E ratio should be that it should have been stable for a long time because they've been paying healthy dividends.
Not really, right? So you are looking at it a little wrong way. So ROCE tells you how efficiently the company is using its capital. Okay. So for every 100 crore invested, there are two companies, A and B.
Okay.
One company has a ROCE of 35% and another company has a ROCE of 5. So you will definitely prefer company B. Company A, which has a more higher ROCE.
Yeah.
Okay. But then you cannot correlate ROCE to PE ratio. PE ratio, so here when you see 16, right? 15.8, I'm rounding it up to 16. So basically market expects that every year ITC's profit will grow 16% year on year.
Right.
Okay. So PE ratio should always be looked in conjunction with PEG ratio. So PEG ratio is nothing but growth divided by PE ratio. PE ratio divided by growth. With me, not with me.
Yeah.
So in this case, growth is only 8%, but PE ratio is 16%. So as I said, PE ratio should always be equal to or lesser than growth. So if the company is growing at 20%, PE ratio should be 18, 19 or 20. But if the company is growing at 20% and PE ratio is 40, which means company is overvalued. So in ITC case, you see that the company is growing at 8%, but PE ratio is 16. So when I divide 16 by 16 by 8, I get 2. So that is, so when I look at, so basically you would look at a PE ratio, PEG ratio and growth rate. I don't know if growth rate comes here.
I think there's a sales growth 7.25%.
So you should do this, but I don't know why this number is not matching, because ideally 16 divided by 15 is not 2. So this ratio is wrong. From where they got, I don't know. Because the formula is this should be divided by this.
If PE ratio is less than 1 means company is good. That is understanding, right?
Not P, PEG. बार P और PEG में confuse
sorry, PEG ratio is less than 1, then the company is good, right?
No, means company is undervalued. Not good or bad is different. Company is undervalued.
No. Company is undervalued and good to buy, right?
Good to buy नहीं, वही देखना पड़ेगा, right?
नहीं वो पैरामीटर
एक मिनट रुको, एक चीज नहीं देख सकते हैं. PEG ratio. So Vivek, first, did I answer your question?
Yes.
Okay, now look at Bajaj Finance. So PE ratio is 1. So as per value investing, it is undervalued. But this is only one criteria. Now I'm looking at PE ratio 30, which means this is also a growth stock. So it is growing fast. Then why is the PEG ratio less than 1? Because profit growth should be higher.
So Nishant, I think it's not related with the profit growth, but the sales growth.
Which one?
On the right hand side.
But PEG ratio has got nothing to do with sales growth. It has to do with profit growth. So why are they using that terminology? Because if the P ratio is 20 and growth is 40, then my PEG will be 0.5, 20 on 40. And if my P ratio is 20 and my profit growth is 10, then PEG will be 2. So PEG ratio is based on profit growth, not sales growth. Sales doesn't matter. Sales I can grow 200%. If my profit is not growing, what is the use? Like what Ola did, right? I can sell for a loss and grow my sales. Everybody will buy from me if I sell 100 ka cheez 30 pe. So sales growth is not at all important. Bottom line is important. So I think there is some mistake, somewhere they are doing, because ideally the formula is very simple. For calculating PEG, you will do your price to earning divided by growth. So in this case, the growth should be around 40%. So I don't know what parameter they are using, but anyways, this is little confusing, but we can go back and check their.
But when we use screener like to choose the good stocks, so that time in screener we use like ROC इतना होना चाहिए, PEG ratio इतना होना चाहिए, P इतना होना चाहिए. So in that case, in screener, if PEG ratio is less than 1, then it is a value buying of stock.
Correct, but then you need to look at other factors, right? So PEG ratio is one
they
indicator.
Definitely other factors we will look, because we will apply all the conditions and screener to pick up the stocks, right? But one of the parameter I am saying, if it is less than 1, it is value buying, right?
Correct. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, and one more thing, if you see, so if I compare to ITC, the return on capital employed is very less. But then generally for banks, ROC will be less because their cost of funds is also less. So banks just need to have a difference between ROC and ROE. So as long as, ROC and cost of fund versus ROC. So if the cost of fund for a Bajaj Finance is 3% or 4%, 13 minus 4, they are making a net of 9, which is a good metric, which we discussed in our previous sessions. But yeah, so hopefully I answered Vivek and
about this profit growth percent. Is it before cost of debt or after cost of debt? That is the question. Because PEG ratio, the growth is basically the earnings per share growth, right? So if the profit growth also includes the cost of debt, then probably the EPS is much lower.
Yes, but they are not giving that also number, na, somewhere. So yeah, but yeah, when we are talking about, when I am talking about anything, I am talking about PAT, profit after tax. So you're after everything, and that's how your net EPS is calculated, right? So EPS is nothing but your PAT divided by number of shares. So if my profit is 100 crores and I have 100 crore shares, my EPS is 1.
So you mean the EBIT, earnings? Okay, earnings after.
No, I mean the PAT. So profit after tax is 100 rupees, and my total number of shares outstanding is also 100. My EPS will be 100 on 100, 1.
Okay.
That's what it is.
Nishan, there is one parameter like dividend payout 8.9%, means near about 9%. So what does mean?
Okay, yeah, this is a good question. So do we want to cover this or do we want to go to swaps? Okay, we can do this. So dividend payout 8.9 means that based on the stock price, average stock price, actually dividend payout is more. No, dividend payout is how much percentage of profit they paid out as dividend. But this is also wrong because the payout ratio for ITC is more than 50-60%. So I don't know from, no, okay, this is Bajaj Finance, yeah. For ITC, it will be 50%, and this year they are going to make 80%. So basically, whatever profit they make, yeah, so this number I wanted to show. So whatever profit they make, out of that 56% they'll pay as dividend. So say ITC made a profit of 100 crore in 2019, 56 crore they'll pay as dividend. And from this year they have changed the policy, they'll be paying out 85%. So 100 crore profit में 85 crore बांट देंगे. So that is why ITC will be having a very high dividend. So here is.
Nishant, that is
So-
what with the book value, right?
So in that case, means stock, if you are holding a ITC stock for long term, you will get definitely the dividend year on year basis. So if stock price come, means it go up or down, it doesn't matter, right?
Correct. So going
Yeah.
forward for ITC, you will be getting around 10 rupees per share as dividend every year. And in India, dividend is tax free because the company ITC will already pay something called a DDT, which is a dividend distribution tax. So in the hands of the shareholder, dividend is fully tax free. So say suppose you can buy 3 lakh shares of ITC, that is 30 lakhs per year. So you don't need to work anymore because they are consistent in paying dividend.
So in that case, can we cannot consider whoever is paying dividends to the shareholders is a good company and it gives a good future as an investment point of view, right? Because
I
their
agree, because
share value is
not paying-
constant for years and years in the name of dividend, where we are not investing. If we are investing that money in shares, maybe it might be somehow it might be useful. But if they're giving dividends, it doesn't mean that it's like good for us as an investor. That's what I feel.
Also,
No, but,
immediately
this-
after dividend payment, there will be a drop in stock price, which is like very obvious. Immediately after dividend is paid, the value of share will reduce, even at least for a small period of time.
Right.
And also it also depends upon what kind of investment you want to make. If they are paying out the dividend, that means they are investing very less back into the company, which might be looked at as a bad strategy, because they need to invest more in the company. Only then the company can grow.
And best part is they pay dividend based on the face value of the share, not the market value. So again, the dividend, until unless if you're investing like in lakhs, maybe that's a decent amount. But as a normal regular investor, I think it's not. It's not helpful. I don't see like it's good investment in that type of companies. That's what I feel.
No. So see, I think we talked about 2-3 things, right, together. So when you say it is not good, right, remember there are different kinds of investors in the market. So now ITC, so in US, there are many companies like ITC. Unfortunately, in India, I could only find one. So there is a category of investor who has his wealth. So as I said, right, if you buy 3 lakh shares of ITC with a dividend of 10 rupees per share and consistently, every year you will get it. In July, they will pay. So every year you will get 30 lakhs. Now, obviously, to buy 3 lakh shares of ITC at price of 200, you need 6 crores. But 30 lakhs is how much of 6 crores? You are right that they pay dividend on stock value, on the par value. So the par value of ITC is 1 rupee. So on the par value, they are paying 1000% dividend. But I don't want to confuse people now by going into par value and all of that. So let's talk as per share. So the current market price of ITC is 200 and the dividend is 10 rupees, which means 5% tax free. So even if you put in FD, you get only that much. The advantage with an ITC stock is the dividend will only come at a certain time, which you know is in the month of May, June. So now they are about to declare a dividend. So if you buy a stock as a long-term investor, I am talking, you buy a stock in January. From January to April, you can keep trading. So you bought at 200. After 2 weeks, it was at 25. You sold, and then next few days again it came to 190 because generally if you see at ITC, it is always oscillating between a price range. So it will be between 150 to 170 for 2-3 months. Then it will go to 170 to 200 and then come back. So if you know how to trade, you can play also. If you don't want to play and you are a retiree, तुमको बैठ के खाना है, you are getting 5%. So on an investment of 10 rupees per share is your guarantee. As the share price keeps going up, your investment is still 200. It is not that ITC share price has not gone up at all, right? If you look at the 5-year chart, let me open that 5-year chart.
So you're saying when dividend time 2 months before you invest and take the dividend and you quit. That's what you're saying when shares are going up?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that you can play it multiple ways. If you are a long-term investor and you don't want to do anything, just sit on it, right? keep eating the dividend and then hand over the share to your children.
But yearly 30, I mean, definitely people will not invest in lakhs, and I mean, not maybe 1 or 2 lakhs, maybe they invest for 5-10 lakhs. So if yearly once only you're getting that money, I mean, again, the value is not going up, not much at all if you're comparing to Infi or some other companies.
Yeah, so that is the difference between, see, there are different kinds of stocks, right? So in the market, you have something called a growth stock. Look at Amazon, for example. They have never paid dividends. So Amazon does not believe in paying dividends. So, but they have increased your value of the share. So value of Amazon share has gone up from $10 to $300. So yes, every stock has a different game. So yes, so what you are talking about is only growth stock, but growth stock is not always available in the market, right?
Yeah, but I think see, whoever if we come, it's by default people suggest okay, ITC is good, but I mean basic stuff. If we go ground reality and all, I mean, it's not.
Who is suggesting by default that ITC is good?
Generally, most of if you ask anybody, I mean ITC is good. Everybody says yeah, good. They give good dividends, and I mean at any cost they will give some at least. Maybe 10 rupees or 5 rupees, whatever it is. So they will pay dividends. So that's how people recommend mostly.
See, ITC is good. Why people say, you know, there are many things about ITC. ITC has the third largest market cap in India. So, you know, it's a stable management. If a company is paying dividend every year, Dipti made a good point that means that they don't know how to invest the money to grow the business, which means it's a traditional business. It's not a growth business. But it also means that it is giving you steady profit every year, right? So you are getting a steady income. Understand, there are many retirees, right? So if you, based on what I have explained, if you start investing at 20, say for Siddharth and Vaibhav, it will be very applicable. They are 23. At 60, they can have 50 crores. At 60, do they still want to have growth stocks? What will they do? So at that age, if they can invest their 50 crores into companies like ITC, where they can get 5% as dividend, 2.5 crore ho gaya na unka. 2.5.
Like in that case, why ITC they need to put, and they say better than that there are the better return companies are there, right? So
no, but they are not as stable as ITC, right? So that is where your analysis comes in. So have you analyzed ITC? How does ITC pay its dividends? Does it pay out of profit or does it borrow to pay the dividend?
That part I am not sure. But
so they pay out of their profit. I had shared that ITC report, right? They pay out of their profit. ITC does not borrow to pay the dividend. ITC has almost zero debt, I think. Very, very low debt company.
Yeah, but if they say the business model, right, their primary source of revenue is only for tobacco. That's it. Other parts and all.
Ashirwad Atta, who is selling? Ashirwad Atta, who is selling? Sunfeast noodles, who is selling? They have diversified, right?
But compared to the major portion of revenue is cigarettes only, right?
No, but they have diversified, right? And cigarettes is highly profitable, right? Usko chhodega kyun? Like for example, RIL, will they leave petrochemicals? See, people are talking that IC, internal combustion engine, your petrol and diesel engine basically will be phased out in 5 years. वो सब joke है, होने वाला नहीं है इंडिया में. At least 15-20 years there will be demand for petrol. As long as there is demand for petrol, somebody has to refine it. So वो गुजरात में जो जामनगर में रिफाइनरी है रिलायंस का कमा के देगा, तो उसको बंद थोड़ी करेगा. But as a smart businessman, what Mukesh has done is he has diversified. Retail खोल दिया और जियो खोल दिया, बच्चा लोगों को दे दिया, अब चलाओ. आई थिंक मुकेश इज 63, yesterday I read. उसका तो रिटायरमेंट हो गया, राइट? अब बच्चा लोग चलाओ, डुबाओ, जो करना है करो. वो अपना 100 करोड़ लेके अपना आश्रम में बैठ के रहेगा. उसके बाप ने उसको धंधा दिया था, ही ग्रू इट. अभी उसका बच्चा लोग है, चलाया तो ठीक, डुबाया तो ठीक. उसके पास कितना साल है? तो भाई भगवान का किस्मत होगा तो जिएगा 100 तक, लेकिन गारंटी थोड़ी है.
See, I have one more point to add. So, for example, compared to Infeast, basically what ITC is doing is that the share price is not increasing. Instead, they're paying it out as dividend. So, what happens when something like a crisis happens? The market has fell down by 30%. So, your Infi or whatever SBI, everything has fell down by 30%. But ITC has also fell down by 30%. But not your effect will not be as high as a growth share, because you have already gotten something back. So basically your risk is very less. That's what Nishant is saying. For someone who is of higher age, who doesn't want to put all his money into the stock market volatility. So you have less volatility when you have a fixed amount for sure that you are getting back periodically, like 6 months or something, so that your entire market is not, your entire money is not exposed.
And also it's a right, Deepti, and there is also a flip side to it. Too much of dividend is also not good. Why? Generally, when companies started to pay out too much of dividend, suddenly it means that promoter is trying to get out money from his share, right? So it means that if companies already started to give 80 or 90% of the profits in dividend, and promoter is a 50% shareholder, that means that out of those 90% profit, 50% will be taken up by promoter itself, and there is no way that company is spending in the future growth. So I mean that aspects also need to be seen, that just don't get lured with the high dividend paying company.
Absolutely. I said 5 minutes ago that if a company is paying too much dividend, that means it doesn't know how to invest in itself. That means it's not looking, it's not investing in R&D or growth or whatever. So that is probably a bad thing. But on the other hand, like Nishant said, there is one category of investors who are very happy with this kind of shares, because it is giving some amount of security in the whole spectrum of the volatility that the share market has to offer.
Yeah, that's right, but that's only true when the company is giving the consistent dividend throughout last, let's say, 5-10 years. But if suddenly company started to pay out more dividends, there is something fishy, I would say that.
Take the example of Hull. This is the strong stock, right? So in this epidemic also, it doesn't fall that much. If you check the chart of Hull.
Which one, Amol?
HUL.
Yeah, because these are safe stocks, right? Like Deepti said. But Nimit, I don't agree with one point. When you say that a higher dividend means the shareholder is taking money out, the promoter can sell his stake, right? So dividend सबको फायदा हो रहा है, मेरे को भी मिल रहा है, right? जो भी shareholder है सबको मिल रहा है. Promoter को.
What I try to say is that promoter wants to take more profit out from the business, right? That's the one way that.
Not really, right? So like you and Deepti said, that maybe they don't know where to utilize that extra money. But there is a flip side to this also, right? That maybe they are using debt to grow, fund their growth. Because remember, now the cost of debt is only 5%. And what we saw for ITC, their ROC कितना था? 30 के ऊपर है. So as long as my ROC is higher than my cost of capital, I am actually making money, right? So why do I hold the dividend of the shareholder? In fact, I would say a company like ITC should distribute 100% of its profit as dividend. 100 करोड़ का प्रॉफिट हुआ, 100 करोड़ पूरा डिविडेंड दे दो, क्योंकि ग्रोथ के लिए तो मेरे को मार्केट से पैसा मिल ही रहा है ना. Are you guys understanding what I'm trying to say?
But that's not right. But that's not the right strategy, right?
Why?
If you are going to sell a stake in your company, it means that you are selling, your company's stake.
No, I'm not selling a stake, right? I'm taking debt. उधारी ले रहा हूँ भाई, बाजार से ब्याज में पैसा ले रहा हूँ.
बाजार में तो हम उधारी तो
नहीं,
बैंक से लेते हैं.
हाँ, तो बाजार से भी ले सकते हैं ना. बड़ी कंपनियां एनसीडी इशू कर सकती है, राइट? दे नीड नॉट, द सोर्स ऑफ फंड्स फॉर कंपनी लाइक आईटीसी इज नॉट जस्ट बैंक, राइट? दे कैन बोरो फ्रॉम मेनी सोर्सेज. दे कैन इशू देयर ओन एनसीडी, नॉन कन्वर्टिबल डिबेंचर, which is listed. In India, the market is not that liquid, but we, unfortunately, I was one of the people who wanted to build this market, but we were not successful. But still, there is a market where interbanks, they buy and sell. Where this is where those mutual funds got stuck, right? Because they bought paper of illiquid companies, not companies like ITC. But ITC can easily go to the market and borrow 1,000 crores at 5%. So their interest cost is 50 crore. But if you look here, they are able to generate 35%. In fact, their ROE से ROC ही ज़्यादा है, मतलब debt capital पे return बहुत अच्छा है. So basically, I am borrowing at 5%. 1,000 crore I took from a bank. Debt, you guys understand, right? Everyone is clear with debt. Can you hear me, guys?
Yes.
Yes, no.
Yeah.
Nishant, there seems to be some echo.
So
Yeah, can you hear me well?
It's better.
It's echoing, right? Vaibhav, just go on mute.
yeah, sure.
Is it okay now? Yeah, now it's fine.
It's great.
Yeah, I think when Vaibhav went on unmute, I think something happened. So, yeah, basically I was talking about debt, right? Is my screen shared or I need to share it again?
You need to share it again.
Okay. So what I was trying to say is, say ITC borrows 100 crores from the market at 5% interest. So every year it is obligated to pay 5 crores. That is what is known as cost of funds as 5%. So which I explained, for equity it's 0. But if ITC is able to generate more than 5%, it is doing good, right? So I borrowed 100 crores, I generated 35 crores, 5 crores I repaid as interest, 20 crores I repaid as principal, still I made 10 crores extra, right? So why should I hold back the dividends? Does that make sense to you, Deepthi and Nimit? Do you understand why a high dividend payout may not always be a bad thing?
Yes, yes.
Nishant, can you please repeat the same example one last time? I'm sorry.
Yeah, sure. So basically, we are talking about a company which is making a profit of 100 crores.
Yes.
Now, as we discussed in our previous session, when a company makes profit of 100 crores, it has multiple options. Either pay it out as dividend to the shareholders, or reinvest in the business, or go ahead and buy some other company, or just keep it, which Infi and TCS and others did. 4 options are there. Here the discussion was that if a company is paying it out, is it good or bad? So one view was that it can be bad because company doesn't know what to do with the extra cash. It doesn't have productive ways to deploy that capital to grow the business. And if a company is not deploying the capital to grow the business, which means the business will not grow because you have to keep investing to keep growing. Okay? My counter argument to that was that a company like ITC can make profit of 100 and pay everything out as dividend and still continue to grow, because now they have the 3rd largest market cap in India and they are a very reputable brand in India. So they can go and borrow money from the market at 5%. So say ITC needs 100 crore rupees to invest somewhere. Instead of holding back the dividend, what they will do is they will go and borrow 100 crores from the market at 5% per annum. So interest cost will be how much?
5 crores.
5 crore. But how much they are able to generate?
35 crores.
Exactly. So now remaining is how much?
30
crore. Now they can use this 30 crore to repay that 100 crore loan, 20 crore each. So 5 साल में वो return हो जाएगा. After that, and still 10 crore got added to my net profit. So how your net profit is calculated is you will calculate cost of loan, then you will also deduct the cost of repayment. But in fact, cost of repayment is actually not done. Your profit will grow by 30 crores and your cost of repayment will only come in your cash flow statement. So, and then after 5 years, you will clear the debt. So you will be debt free again. Then you need more 100 crores. So basically I will project as a company for the next 5 years how much I need in this example. And over a 5-year period, I will return it back. Then I will borrow more because the cost of funds in the world is very less. In fact, in the US, you can borrow at 1% now. A lot of companies can borrow at 1% or 2%. So you could just go and borrow 2,000 crores, 5,000 crores.
So Nishant, can you help me understand how the ROCE is more than ROE?
This one I need to check here. I don't know how. This screener, I am not very confident of how they are doing the calculations.
Nishan, one more thing regarding ITC. If you look at the ITC growth story, continuously they are growing the business. They are in IT, they are in hotels, they are in retail. So they are, by the time they are growing their business also.
Yes, I know that. Yeah, but I need to pull out their numbers. So basically, I have asked our reporter guy. So today I couldn't speak to him. So today I had another meeting. So I had another meeting of 3 hours. So that is something that I will discuss also. That is a very interesting proposal I got. So that is something I will discuss with some of you who are interested in investment ideas. So I will discuss after a few minutes. But yeah, so Nimi, that is a good question. I need to go back and check. So I was trying to read. So yesterday my daughter woke me up at 2 o'clock and she didn't let me sleep the whole night. So I actually spent 2-3 hours reading, but I couldn't finish. So I have asked that guy to give me a report, and I will have to touch base with him. Unfortunately, I have been really busy, but I will do some digging myself. I will see. I will actually calculate myself. वो screener का data थोड़ा जोर लग रहा है मेरे को, because ये मेरे को भी समझ में नहीं आ रहा. How can ROC be more than ROE?
I think ROC is probably not calculated against PAT, while the ROE is being calculated against PAT. That's what my understanding is. That's the only way.
How it should be, right? So if your total profit is 30 crore and your equity is 100, then your ROE is 30 and your debt is another 100. So your ROC is 15. So how is they getting it?
Yeah.
So ITC I know has debt of almost 0, but see, even if it's 0, then both should be same.
Yeah.
So,
ideally, what I understood is that from that screener is they are not, the ROE is being calculated on the profit after tax, while the ROCE is calculated probably on the EBIT. And
have you seen it somewhere?
No, not seen, but it seems like, because there is no.
नहीं, but ऐसा कर नहीं सकता, right? Because formula एकदम clear है.
Because ROCE cannot be greater than ROE.
Yes, that is what is not making sense to me also. So I will see. So I am looking at ITC balance sheet. Okay, I can share this actually.
Nishant, on a side question. So, for example, one of the points DT made was very valid. If the company is paying out very high dividends, then that means that the company is clueless on where to grow and how to grow. But let's say if the company has a very restrictive market and they've already gained like all of the market share and they don't have any more market to acquire or any more market to capture. So in this case as well, as long as they don't grow on new verticals, they wouldn't need to spend more on the R&D, right? I mean, R&D is more of future proofing towards your own product. But like they say, companies don't acquire great technologies, but they acquire great market shares. So would that be one case where, the companies would eventually pay out high dividends because they don't need to grow anymore because they have the full market share anyways?
So you are right in most aspects, just that they don't need to grow is more like they can't grow, because if you are already controlling 80% of the market, you can't grow. Everybody wants to grow. So the whole purpose of a listed public company is to grow the profits, right? That is what they say, greed is good, which I don't agree with. Because I have asked.
That's why those investments are not very good, right? If the company is already 80% or 90% of the market share, it means there is no scope for growth. And if there is no scope for growth for the company, there is no scope for the growth of your investment as well.
Your share price will not grow, Nimit, but as I said, there is a category of investor who will be happy with dividends, right?
Yeah.
And in countries where you get 1% on a FD and you have very less alternative ways to invest, they are happy with 6%. Right? So you are a US guy, you have got couple of million as your retirement fund, and you are getting 6% tax free. So it's $120,000, $10,000 a month. Ash, hai na?
Yeah,
So
probably that is maybe more relevant for the developed countries where the FD interest rates are very less. Right? For India, I would not, probably it's not a lucrative thing for me at least.
Exactly, but then that is where India is also going, right? What is our future? If I was running RBI, by now our interest rates will already be 0. Or if I was running GOI, because there is no other way, right? Because if a guy in China can borrow at 0%, a guy can US can borrow at 0%, and industry in India has to borrow at 5%, how will we ever compete? So our cost of funds has to be similar, right? In a globalized world, you cannot have a high cost of capital, and capital is available. So anyways, looking at ITC balance sheet, right, this is where I get confused. So they have 1200 crores as equity capital, but from where did they get this 56,000 crores? Which means this can only be reserves, means previous year's profit. So they have so much profit from previous years. So obviously they will pay dividend. What will they do with this money? They cash kitna rakha hai?
Why can't they buy back the shares itself to strengthen their own cash flow?
No, that buyback doesn't strengthen the cash flow. It increases your EPS. Yeah, they can do buyback also. So I don't know why they are not doing it. See, they have 12,000 crores as investments. So this is probably lying somewhere in an FD or something, generating only 5%. So that is why a lot of times we also look at ROA, which is return on assets. Let's look, is there any loans here? Can we see any long-term liability? See, there is no debt, right? There is no debt here, nothing. They only have some deferred liability of 2,000 crores. There is no liability on this company. So it's a tax completely free. So this is a huge number, na?
So Nishant, just one question. So I wanted to know that why would a company, why would they change the amount of dividends that they're paying in the following years? The first year, of course, they have to set the dividend amount, but in the following years, the company doesn't really like the traders are already trading on the stocks. So why would the company care about changing the dividend rate or anything? Because they're anyway like their investment strategy is different, and unless they have to take more funds by releasing more stocks, why would they anyway change the amount of dividends that they're offering?
Yeah, because again, as I said again and again, right, there is also a category of investor who invest in a company only for the dividend. So as I'm saying, agar mere abhi say for example, I could buy 1 lakh shares of ITC, I would buy it immediately. So कितना 200 रुपए में कितना होता है 2 करोड़, ठीक है? Because I'll get 10 lakhs ना. So
I would also
10
add
lakhs
another. I would also add another. I mean, another angle to this question is, if a promoter of the company wants to have some money because his daughter's wedding is coming next year, so he will pay more dividends for that company. I mean, just a bad example, but yeah, this happens in these big companies. When a promoter wants to have withdraw some money, I mean, they have to take out some money from their investments. They do these kind of payouts as well.
Yeah, so see, I just checked ITC's numbers, right? So ITC quarterly profit is 4,000 crores. So if I annualize it, their annual profit is around 16,000 crores. Now, assuming that they will pay out, they were paying out 60% as dividend, they were paying out 9,600 crores. So they were still retaining 6,400 crores as amount which they can reinvest, which is a lot of money. They probably didn't need more than that. Now this year they have decided to increase it to 90%, which means they will still retain 10% of 16,000 crores. So 1,600 crores they are already retaining, which is from their own profits. Other than that, if they need more money, they can always borrow. So why did they need more than that? And we can see how much they invested last year. So I am profit and all is easily available. Let me see. ITC investment in business. They invest in their business. No, I am not getting that easily. So that data I will have to dig somewhere. So if they only invested, say last year, if they only invested 3,000 crores or 4,000 crores, they had already retained 6,000 crores, right? So that is where I showed the number, right? 57,000 crore is already money which belongs to shareholder, which is lying there, which means they made a profit of 16,000 crores in 2010 and they paid out only 8,000 crore as dividend. So they retained 8,000 crore. वो जमा कर करके अभी 56,000 crore हो गया, ठीक है? So they first need to pay that out also, ना? If they pay that out 56,000 crore, I don't know how much that will come. They are saying 15,000 crores is roughly 10 rupees per share. So 57,000 crores will be around 40 rupees per share. So they can actually give a one-time dividend of 40 rupees per share. So if ITC announces that they will be giving 40 rupees per share, ये जो share price है 200 का, ये 240 पे भाग जाएगा.
Yeah.
Understood? Not understood.
Also, Nishant, if the promoters have this muscle to define the dividend ratio, then that means that the promoters hold more number of seats in the board, and they don't really. It's not in their interest that the company actually grows if they're looking to sell out the company in the near future, right?
No, they are just paying out the dividend. Again, I am saying, right? Paying out dividend does not mean that you cannot grow the company. You can always borrow to invest in the company.
Right. Okay.
And when you say the promoter has a share, right? I explained last time. In India, at least we have only one class of shares. In the US, you can own only 10% of the share but have more than 50% voting right. So
like
that is
class A,
right? Yeah, Larry Sergey, Facebook, all these guys did it. So Larry Sergey started it with Google, and then almost every tech IPO after that copied him. So everyone does that. So obviously, if I am holding more than 50%, I will have a say, right? Why would I not? So in this case, what is the shareholding? It is showing 0. Promoter shareholding है ही नहीं. Okay, देखते हैं.
I think it's a public best company, Nishant.
But we are past the time, but I am okay to continue, okay? As long as you guys are okay. I can be here for as long as you want. Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay, so if you see here, foreign institutions own 14% of ITC. Mutual funds and other banks, N banks, I don't understand what is N banks, but yeah, 10%. Others, I don't know. It's probably, this is very confusing because there is nothing here. Another 32. So that is 15 plus 10, 25, 57. Public owns 10% only, 67. And then when they say other financial institutions, this is probably banks and all. So I don't know. Promoters have probably
Nishant,
already
it's
sold.
surprising how we don't have any pension funds here, right? I thought this would have been a golden stock for all the pension funds.
Unfortunately, where are the pension funds in India? Where are your pension funds? We don't have a CalPERS, right?
Right.
India doesn't have pension funds. Where are our pension funds? The only pension fund we have is EPFO. This is India, right? We don't have a CalPERS or a NBIM. Okay, I'm just throwing names for people who are not aware. So there is a fund called Norway Pension Fund Global. Okay, I wanted to work with that company so much, but they never hired me. But anyways, so Google them. Okay, they are a very interesting fund. So that is called a sovereign wealth fund. But what Vivek spoke about are known as pension funds. So in US they are very popular. So there is a pension fund called CalPERS. Again, another company I wanted to work for. It is California Public Employment Retirement System. So in the US, what happens is when whatever money you give for PF, like for India PF, they call it 401k. It is private. So private, they have created pension funds who then invest in the stock market. So that is a huge pool of capital. So every state has one. So CalPERS is for California. Similarly, New York State will have one and all. So we will do one session on pension funds, and they are known as buy-side funds, long-only funds. That will be an interesting session. Vaibhav, you can add this to our list of topics to be discussed.
Okay.
And for now, you guys can, for next week, if you find time, read this. NBIM. Norway Pension and Global. Vivek, did I answer your question?
Yes, Nishant.
Okay. Any other questions, guys? Good questions, but it's good to do it this way. No more questions? So we
there is
couldn't.
one question from my side. I mean, there was a particular term both Anmol and Deepti were using. It's called EBITDA or something. I mean, if you could just tell me the acronym, I'll try to Google it.
EBIT.
EBITDA.
EBIT.
Okay.
It's nothing but okay, Deepti, go ahead.
Earning before interest and taxes.
Yes, EBIT and EBITDA, EBITDA, which is after depreciation and amortization as well. If you really want to see, if a company has a lot of fixed assets, for example, like a telecom company which also owns the towers and everything, just looking at EBIT won't do justice to the profits, because all these assets they will be either leased. In that case, a lot of amortization. If they're owned, then a lot of depreciation. All that also has to be accounted. It's pure accounting terms. Probably it's not very interesting for value investing.
Okay, but I'll look into it. Thank you.
No, it can be actually. So,
yeah, basically EBIT and EBITDA shows the true growth rather than just the number of the the PAT, basically the final profit of the company. EBITDA shows the true growth of the company.
So I assume Apple and Amazon and Microsoft, they would have like a very high EBITDA, right?
They're not network side. Apple, for example, is not a network provider. Right. I meant a network provider who also owns,
Ericsson,
for example,
and,
yeah.
Okay. Okay, Deepti. Yeah, thank you.
Depreciation will be more applicable, Vivek, for companies which are very asset heavy, so airlines and telecom.
And manufacturing
Right.
also.
Right.
Though that is why these asset heavy companies, right, have become very horrible investments, because the returns just does not justify it, because they don't have any pricing power. There is too much competition. Look at airlines. There are what, 100 airlines in the world, whereas how many competitors does Apple have, or how many competitors does Microsoft have, or how many competitors does Google have? That is the whole game. That if you are in a business which has very few competitors, you can control a huge chunk. In India, for example, ITC. ITC is a good stock, but it has good competition also. HUL is there, Dabur is there, Nestle is there. So you have 4 or 5 companies like that. But I think the key thing about these companies is, one, they are slow and steady. They are good for retirees. They are good for crisis. So they are not heavy wealth generators, but they won't also destroy. So they are for weak-hearted people, basically. People, there are people, right, who will be, "Arey, mera 50% gir gaya," they'll have a heart attack. Somebody had 100 crores in the market and his portfolio is down 50%. He'll commit suicide. That's a बहुत case hai. Or he will die of a heart attack. So for people like that, it's good to be in an ITC rather than being in a company which can go up or down very fast.
Sure. Yeah.
So
I mean,
the
it is
markets are very
interesting
wide,
how-
right? There are different
wide-
kinds of investors, different mindsets. So there is a product for everyone. It's like you want it, I have it.
True.
And Deepti, Nimit, feel free to add if I'm going wrong somewhere.
Every investor know their this portfolio or risk assessment they should make for themselves. It's not about weak-heartedness or strong-heartedness. If someone wants to invest in stocks or funds, they should basically know what kind of risk they're ready to take. If they're conservative or if they're open for risk. Even an older person can be open for risk if he has too much cash at hand and he doesn't want to put in FDs. It's not about old person or young person. It's just about knowing your risk-taking ability.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I didn't mean it by age. I meant it by your risk-taking appetite. But everybody is different. So there could be a 20-year-old who's very conservative, and there could be a 80-year-old who's very enterprising and risk-taking.
Yeah, my example, for personal example, my dad and my husband. My husband is 40, but he's very risk averse, and my dad is very risk-taking.
Yeah. So everybody is different, and age has nothing to do with it. It's basically your DNA, your mindset, and your perspective in life. So yeah.
Right.
I need to leave now. It's lunchtime. It was a very interesting session. Looking forward to the session tomorrow. Bye.
Sure, Deepti. Thank you.
Thank you, Deepti.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Yeah, Nishant. So I had one question. So would you say that the companies which are at a matured stage of their growth, like large companies or cash cows which are not growing at a point of time, so they are more prone to issue dividends. But in case, for example, you said that Amazon does not do it, but in India, a lot of companies, for example, like are there more examples like ITC which are already matured and so they are more willing to pay more dividends, or it's just a personal choice of the company? And if they're paying more dividends, then isn't it a good thing that overall they're respecting the shareholders, the risk?
Yeah, so 2-3 questions you asked, right? So one is, are there more companies like ITC in India? No, there are not. You were very right when you said, yes, these are mature businesses which are cash cows and they should be rewarding their shareholders. That point is very valid. I agree with you. In India, some of these companies are very weak, or for that example, not very mature, I would say, in terms of how they should be treating their shareholders. Look at Infi TCS, for example. They have large amount of cash lying around, and neither they are doing anything with it, and neither they are paying it out as cash. It's just sitting there. God knows doing what. So for me, these companies are now matured. They are not growing at more than 10%. So they are no more growth stocks. Amazon is a strange company where the CEO is very bold and outright, and he keeps saying that I will not pay dividends. If you want to buy my share, buy. Otherwise, Tata bye-bye. I only believe in reinvesting. And I don't have the data, but Amazon's market cap was probably $1 billion 20 years ago, and now it is 1,000 billion or a trillion kind of. So it has grown 1,000 times or more in the last 20 years. It has generated a lot of wealth for a lot of people. So he has his fan following. Now, can they grow from 1 trillion to 100 trillion? I doubt it, because there is only so much that Amazon can do. So, but I don't want to bet against them either, but I don't see Amazon growing 50 times in the next 20 years, or even less than that, because it will be really difficult. Such a large market cap. But in the last 20, they have done amazingly well. But if you want to make money, you need to find the... हाँ अमोल एक minute, finish करने दे. If you want to make money, you need to have the next Amazon.
Nishant, Amazon and Flipkart have the same business model, right? But Flipkart is failed, kind of, okay. Flipkart is failed and Amazon is successful. What is the reason behind that?
Who is telling you Flipkart has failed? Amol, who is telling you that Flipkart has failed?
Flipkart was in loss.
No, Flipkart is in loss. But Flipkart has been sold, right, for 17 billion. So where has it failed? They never came out with an IPO because Walmart bought them. And as I said in my last class, I think you guys are forgetting some of the concepts. What did I tell in my last class? Today, now you have to answer this, Amol. Huh? In India, is a loss-making company allowed to list by SEBI or not?
It's allowed.
No, it's not allowed. So if last 5 years I have only losses, I cannot list in India. Is it allowed to list in US?
Yes.
Maybe yes.
Yes. So it is allowed. Sure. Yeah, it is allowed to list in US, Singapore. In London, they have something called AIM. So all these companies list in different stock exchanges, but not in India. Because in India, last time also I explained, SEBI tells that the Indian investor is not very smart. He is not very savvy. And in order to protect the retail investor in India, I will not allow companies to do these things. In spite of all that protections, 90% of the companies are fraud. That is a separate story altogether. So,
and coming back to Anmol, your question on why Flipkart was in losses and yet Amazon did not. Amazon had a different growth story, right? Because it was an internet company to start with. It's only recently that they diversified into, logistics and, logistics and services. Yeah, on these side of things. On AWS is AWS also I account it to a part of the IT growth story. But unlike
Vivek, one thing, Amazon
core definition itself was a logistics and services company, right? And in India or worldwide, 90% of the e-commerce websites have been running in losses for a very long time, hoping to eat into the market share of these big companies, either having a competitive edge over the cost of distribution or the cost of holding, be it their godowns or anything else. And that's why I think it's very early to discount any of these e-commerce website, be it Jabong or Myntra or Flipkart, because they need the traction happening in the market, right? And it's only right now. I mean, you have to also take into account how the overall consumer buying pattern has changed over a period of years, right? I would say 10 years ago, no one would be comfortable buying, I don't know, a mobile phone on the website, right? There is a lot of trust involved into it. And even today, no one is ready to buy a piece of jewelry on a website. But maybe, 5 years down the line, due to the consumer buying patterns, it might change. So what we are betting in Flipkart or Myntra is the future growth story, taking into account what people might actually look into. I might be wrong, Nishant. Correct me if my deduction is wrong.
You are right in most of the things. The only thing where I disagree with you is when you say Amazon didn't start off as an internet company. They started off as an online retailer, enabling customers to move from offline to online model. But I think in between, when they started with these AWS and all these, that is what is generating the profits.
That's right.
My family has been in the retail business for the last 100+ years, I would say. Nimit will agree that most Marwadis are actually doing that. So we are all traders. So retail business has always been high value, high volume, high value and very low margin. When I say high volume, which means your turnover will be 100 crores a month, but your margin will be 0.5%, which means on 100 crore turnover, you make only 50 lakhs.
That's
so
true.
Retail has this problem that the margins are very thin. And now with this online retailing, they need to give additional discounts to attract the customer because of the trust issue, like you said.
Yeah.
So that 50 lakhs is just my technology cost. Then I have to pay my employees. Then I also need to give discounts. So actually very quickly, I actually run this business at a 4-5 crore loss. But then, and the higher the loss I can take, the turnover will go up. So if I am ready to take 50 crores losses per month, my turnover could be 1000 crores.
Absolutely.
So like I said, the revenues will be very high. But bottom line, so the top line and bottom line, the top line is very high and the growth is very high. But what about the bottom line?
Yeah.
So this is a big problem with Amazon, and that's why I have never liked it. But now they are into so many things. I don't know what they are doing and how they are generating their money. But I still feel somewhere there is a thing. But yeah, AWS is definitely a very high profit business for them.
Right.
I think in AWS alone, they are making profits of somewhere around 10 to 12 billion dollars a year. I'm talking PAT here, profit after tax, easily. So that's where is their cash cow. But even if I look at AWS and I give it a PE of 30-40, that's only $500 billion.
Yeah.
The retail business is not generating profit. Like for example, the India, when Amol said, so I don't know from where he said that Flipkart failed and Amazon is a success. In India, Amazon is also equally in losses. So Amazon has put in about $7-8 billion in India, and right now it's all minus. Like every year they have losses. They have no profits to report.
Yeah. But it's just that they have the enough muscle power to sustain it through businesses elsewhere, same as Uber and other companies.
Yeah, but you cannot say that.
Uber is in big trouble. So Uber is different. But yeah, Amazon is able to sustain because Amazon is making money from AWS, from in some market there. So it depends. I think Amazon's modus operandi has always been that grab maximum market share. And once you have the market share, you kind of increase prices and make your money. And in whichever market we don't have a market share, keep doing this predatory pricing. And that's what Mr. Ambani did, right? With Jio.
But here we cannot compare Amazon and Flipkart, right? Amazon has done the investment in some company that it might do good or not. That's a future investment. So in future, that company they'll try to get into profits. So if that succeeds, then another area they will. But in Flipkart case, it's not. It's completely in huge loss. They are doing huge loss business. Somehow they got
the same,
investment.
right? So Amazon India is also same, right? So both are doing retailing. Both have the same business model. What is the business model? Instead of me going and buying grocery from my Kirana store, I buy it online. Or instead of buying mobile from a physical mobile store, I'm buying it online. So it's the same business model. There is nothing difference in that. So
yeah,
Amazon,
but in India, retail models of all are failed. There is no one success. I think maybe DMart is the only one who is surviving. But everybody failed within huge.
Let's look at online, right? Online, both Flipkart and Amazon are playing this game because one day they want to get into profit. That's all.
But one day, I don't know, man. I don't think because now in so much huge loss, to recover that, I don't know, man.
That will take time. I agree,
but
right?
Anmol,
I can add few things over here. So all these tech companies with startups, whether it's e-commerce startup or anything else, they don't play on the current game. They play for the projection of 5 to 10 years and even more. Companies like Amazon. You know that Amazon didn't made any money and they were in losses for last 15 years. Only after the AWS, Amazon going into the AWS and the other tech stack things, they started to make money. As Nishant said, that it's still not making money in its e-commerce side in India specifically. Same goes with the Flipkart. So think about Flipkart was being built up by Binny Bansal and his guy, and they sold it out for $16 or $17 billion to Walmart. Now Walmart has a separate business strategy to how to utilize the existing consumer transaction and the user transaction in the Flipkart, because Walmart wants to expand its retail business, the physical retail business in India. So again, it's not playing at the current level. These companies or these tech guys plays from the future perspective, like what I'm projecting for 5 years or 10 years down the line. And what I what is my cash burn ratio as of today, and how much I'll be going to make in future. Think about Jio, right? Jio invested 1.5 lakh crores in the Ambani invested 1.5 lakh crores to start up the RIL. They were running in huge losses in first 3 years, but see now where they are going. So that's how these companies operate.